Yeah, so I started my position as IC1. And this year I am IC2 now, right? Finally. And so I started my process by actually talking to my manager about it. And I know it's something intimidated to do, like bringing it up to your manager, starting to lay the ground. I basically, well, first of all, I think I have a good relationship with my manager, and I'm able to talk to her about a lot of things work related, of course. So I brought it up in the sense of saying something around the lines of, hey, I've set some of my goals for next year, and one of them would be for me to get a promotion. And after that, she started the process of looking into what would I need to get a promotion, and then figure out if I was in that level already or not. And fortunately, I was. And the next step is just basically it's nice to have recommendation letters always, right?
Mhm.
And I think up to a certain level you actually need recommendation letters. So here is where definitely you helping other people outside of your team is very helpful, because sometimes you're like, I'm just being hired to work and help just my team, right? But helping people outside is what makes you different, right? And also what will help you get recommendation letters from people outside of your team, because that's what looks good, right? So that is something to consider. But basically, that's how it went for me. What about you?
With your was Melly pretty much like when you start talking to her about like your goal to get promoted, was she like very much on board with it, like yes, or did there have to be like any kind of convincing or kind of laying out a list of like what you did type
Mhm.
thing? Like kind of how smooth was that process? Was it pretty much just like bringing it up and she's like, okay, I'll get the ball rolling, or was there like a bit of conversation and back and forth around that?
Yeah, actually, it was pretty easy for me.
Mhm.
I just brought it up, and she basically said, let's take a look into things that we should consider as an IC2 person and see if you meet the requirements. But there wasn't really like any convincing or anything like that. She basically said, if there's anything that you're missing right now, we'll go ahead and work on it, right? Um, so I don't think, honestly, there was no convincing, but there was, that of like, oh, let's try to figure out if everything is in place, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Um, I think it just took a little bit of time, because you do need to have like minimum requirements. For example, I don't know, have like 3 reviews or something like that, or be an amount of time in Oracle. And also we were changing a little bit organization at that time, so we need to figure out what new management likes, right? Like, do they like more, I don't know, reviews from sales or product management? I don't know. It depends, right, of what your organization is interested in and what they're focusing on. But overall, I think it was a very smooth process, and there was no hiccups or anything.
Mhm. And on the pay standpoint, like only speak to what you're comfortable with, but if there's like anything you can add on that, how was that
Yeah.
something that you were thinking about with this process? Was it more so your goal was like, hey, I want to be promoted, and then as that went through, you kind of saw the pay number that you would get after you got the thumbs up, or did you say have a number in mind and you were focusing on that, and also that was part of like your discussion with your manager?
Right. So I don't know how it goes for you, but for me, it's more of like I get the promotion and they tell me how much my salary raise was.
Hmm.
It wasn't really like a negotiation or anything like that. Or it sounds like it kind of has to do with like a formula, and you plug in numbers and your salary comes out.
Yeah.
Right. So that's so basically I got the yes, you got promoted, and then that same conversation, I got my new salary, let's say.